5th in the points. He's 7th ahead of Thiago Monteiro, with Johan Kristoffersson and Attila Tashi in the other KCMG Honda on row 5 of the grid. Nestor Girolami and Benny Leuchter on our row 6, as they will be for race 3. And from here on, unless there are any changes for penalties or damage, this is where they will start. Verne and wildcard Tomita on row 7. Lachey and Prio on row 8. Andy Prio with a 10-place grid drop after contact in race 1. Then Muller and Vervish on row 9. Nicky Katsberg and Mehdi Banani on row 10. It was Katsberg and Prio who came together in race 1. Jim Carto, he's one of our wildcards. He's from Hong Kong, and he shares with Ritumu Miyota ahead of Marcin Kwa and Daniel Hegloff. Niels Langeveld, Gordon Shedden, who had to withdraw from race 1 with a car with the weirdest handling quirks. Aurelian Panis, Augusto Farfus and Tom Coronel round out the grid. And for Panis and Coronel, both of who had decent pace, Panis particularly in their Cupras, very bitter pill for them to swallow. But with Norbert Mikulich on pole position, Gabriele Tarquini will be doing his level best to get in behind Norby and ahead of Rob Huff at the start if he can. So there are the cars down on the grid. And for Yvonne Muller, car number 100, starting all the way down there in 17th place on the grid. This is going to be a tricky race. He started 25th in race 1 and made it up into 12th position by dint of a couple of easy passes from his teammates, but predominantly from doing a solid job of charging through the field. And we'll have to see how high he can climb here, because he will be starting similarly low down in race 3 as well. Ted Björk, the best placed of the Lincoln Co's in the field, 5th on the grid for this one, 6th on the grid for the next one, and he will desperately be trying to keep himself in the championship fray. Cars on the grid then, ready for race 2 of the weekend here in Suzuka. Alex Legui down there amongst them, getting final information on the grid. And alongside me, Martin Haven in the booth, is multiple British Touring Car champion Matt Neal. Matt, long day for teams and drivers. 2 races. They're going to be doing 50 laps of this tight circuit. Most of them are. Jean-Carl Verne appears to be going for a wander. Just before the race, in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, just before the race, there's usually only one reason why drivers need to go for a wander. Good morning, Matthew.
Yeah, morning, Martin. Yeah, it just absolutely picks up his drinks bottle there, Attila Tashi. What they do is the drivers have to hydrate a lot. You know, it is warm out here. You know, it's still in its early 20 degrees, and they'll be hydrating a lot. They've got 2 races today, so sometimes they actually overhydrate a bit. And
what goes in has to come out at some stage, yes. Normally you sweat it out. Attila Tashi, well, he and Thiago Monteiro, both very quick. For the first time all year, these red, white and black KCMG Hondas have been faster than the red, white and black, predominantly black and white, Munich Motorsport Hondas. So the good news for the Honda drivers is there are lots of them up at the sharp end of the grid. The bad news for the Honda drivers is there are lots of them up at the sharp end of the grid. But the good news for Esteban Guerrieri, basically, is that he may have a lot of support from other Honda drivers. And of course, if the other Hondas are in the top 10, top 6 maybe, then it stops people like Ted Björk maybe and Yvonne Muller getting those points, and so that can all help you as well. Yeah,
the other manufacturers, VW with Christensen, Lincoln Co, Hyundai, it's very apparent they've been working as a proper squad for a 4-car outfit all year. They've got their focus and they're trying to support that one guy. Honda, because KCMG cars have struggled a bit, they've been sort of working as 2 individual outfits. They've now all come to the party, and they've sort of not woken up, they've managed to align themselves, and it's now a clear focus. Guerrieri is going to be the focus for the championship. So even though they're two different opposing outfits, they're working with one goal.
Yeah, and that's particularly the case here at Honda Land, which is Suzuka, owned by Honda, and Honda Racing, incidentally, celebrating its 60th anniversary this year. So all sorts of good karma. Is karma a Japanese thing as well? Well, it seems to be. Thiago Monteiro winning, I beg your pardon, finishing in third place behind Esteban Guerrieri in race 1 yesterday. Monteiro will be looking for another good race here today. Thiago Monteiro in 8th place on the grid. And don't forget that the top 10 in this race are reversed as the top 10 for next race. So the man who is on pole now will end up starting in 10th place. So lots and lots of enthusiastic Japanese fans in the grandstands, and luckily they won't be needing all of... won't be needing, I do like all the little messing around with the camera, won't be needing all of their waterproofs like they did on Friday. There were still a lot of fans out. Mikel Ascona, the TCR Europe champion last year, another of our young rookies this year, like Attila Tashi, who had a wildcard entry last year, Tashi, but Tashi doing a full season this year, the TCR International Series runner-up in 2018, 17. Ascona, like Tashi, coming to Japan, coming to Suzuka for the very first time, and Ascona was very quick as well, but in the wet conditions in qualifying, lost out in the first qualifying in Q1, 2 and 3, though the second set of qualifying he had much better results. Well, there you can see 3 of our Lincoln Co cars wedged together down in the mid-teens. Eloche, Prio and Muller. The blue Lincoln Co cars right in the middle of the 10 to 20 group as our safety car heads off with Bruno Correa at the wheel. He was sent out by race control in the rain to try and see whether it was still safe to drive or not during Friday's track action. Turned out in the end that it was just about survivable for the drivers, but it was not really great weather, was it, Matt?
Martin, the difference you cannot explain in weather conditions from then to now. You know, it was literally rivers coming down the pit lane. They've got sandbags in the pit lane trying to keep the water out the garages, and now it's very pleasant. And yesterday,
yeah,
you know, we actually had blue sky yesterday. It's you know, the clouds have come over a bit again today, but it's nice and warm. It's not bad. There's still a bit of dampness in the air, so you know, but we're going to have 2 dry races today. It's, you know, the racing was pretty frenetic yesterday, hard to overtake. We're all getting their orders.
Yep, clear the grid. So that we are now in the final countdown for our second race. You just saw Esteban Guerrieri, who won yesterday. He starts here in 6th place. Ted Bjerk, another of the championship contenders, starting in 5th place on the grid. 4th in the standings, just a hatful of points behind teammate Ivan Muller, and it's highly likely that that will change in this race. Muller made fantastic progress in race 1 yesterday, from 25th to 12th place in the end. Ted Bjerk got stuck in 5th, could not get any further, so he did get decent points and has qualified in the top 10 for both these races, which Muller and his other Lincoln Co teammates haven't. So in fact, Ted's on his own, isn't he? He's Billy No Mates, he's got no assistance from teammates, he's just going to have to fight it out. And maybe in some ways that's actually a more straightforward weekend for him, because he knows exactly what he's got to do. Everybody else is a rival around him.
You say that, Martin. I mean, it is a bit of every man for himself, but it's always good to have allies around you. You know, Muller made amazing progress up the grid yesterday, and it's only when he sort of came across Priau and Air Lachey, they could give him a bit of support, they could look after him, keep the others away from him, allow him through, and that sort of accelerated his progress.
And for the third and final race, Priau will be on the same row of the grid as Ted Björk. Björk will start in 6th and Priau will start 5th, so he will have a friend in need if he gets to it. Kevin Chacon starts 4th. The Alpha was on the podium all 3 races last year, and he won 2 of them on the road. One ahead of Gabriele Tarquini, race 3. Tarquini's job here, starting 3rd, line astern from Mikulits, is to stay line astern from Mikulits and to try and stop anybody getting to Norby. If Norby can win, great. If Norby can't win, also great, as long as Gabriele can defend the back door and stop anybody getting to him or getting by him. Now, if Rob Huff has got the pace in the Golf to win this, and in the dry with the front end, the short chassis of the Golf, it might well be the car to have, then Norby, 2nd place, is much better than 3rd or 4th or 5th or nothing. So if Rob is still on the inside down into turn 1, Norby may well have to just let him have it rather than risk the points.
Yeah, for a lot of these championship protagonists, Huffy he's a proper loose cannon on deck because he's fast, he's not in the championship hunt. You know, the Golf should suit it around here. Yesterday was the first real run in the dry, you know, yesterday's race. So they were all taking a stab, a real, you know, finger in the air stab at where they need to be. They've now got a load of data overnight. They'll have been able to reset the cars, go for a finer tuned setup. The Golf should suit it around here, but again, the Hyundai should as well.
Yep.
You know, things like the Lincoln Co, which made really good progress yesterday, you know, it shouldn't suit just the size of the physical size of the car and the wheelbase of the car.
24 laps around here that you can imagine Lincoln Co might end up eating its tyres a lot.
Yeah, so I mean, I was expecting the Golfs to go better yesterday, and maybe with a load of data and a bit of research, we could see, you know, Huff is going to go all out. He's going to be gunning for the win, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. He's got nothing else to go for, doesn't care, not bothered whether he finishes 11th or 9th or 7th or whatever. If you're not champion, you're not champion, so he's just going to be out to try and win races in the Golf. Cars heading away from the grid for the final time before race 2 in Suzuka, not the full Grand Prix circuit. The final race of the Super Formula Championship this afternoon will be on the full Grand Prix circuit, but we are not. The reason for that is the Grand Prix circuit, very briefly, has protection up for motorcycle racers, and that is not homologated for an FIA race. Norman Mikulits, Rob Huff, Gabriele Tarquini, Kevin Chacon, Ted Björk and Esteban Guerrieri, Mikel Ascana, Thiago Montero, Johan Kristoffersson and Attila Tashi in the top 10. And Ernesto Girolami and Benny Loiter, Jean-Carl Vernet and Ryuichiro Tomita, Jan Lachey and Andy Priau ahead of Ivan Muller and Frederick Vervish, Nicky Katzberg and Mehdi Banani. Wildcards Jim Carto and Ritomo Miata share the grid, share a row ahead of Marcin Kwan, Daniel Hegloff, Nels Langeveld, Gordon Shedden, Aurelian Panis, Augusto Farfus and Tom Coronel. Nils Langeveld starting 25th for both races here, finished 2nd in race 2. That was not a fluke. His problem, like so many in the rain, was getting a clean lap or going off, causing a red flag and then losing his best lap in qualifying. Well, there's Johan Kristoffersson. He was mighty, wasn't he, in the rain? Ended up... well, a lot of these cars will have had work since yesterday, new brakes particularly, because it rained all day Friday. Only Kristoffersson in the final period of qualifying used any slicks at all. So effectively all of them for 3 races have got more than enough fresh tyres to go on. So everybody should have the best possible rubber that they can. But apart from Kristoffersson, whose tyres did qualifying, everybody's in the same boat. So rubber won't be a problem. Brakes, possibly.
Yeah, the radio comms we're just hearing to Kristoffersson is obviously a bit delayed. You know, you're not going to be telling him that he's got fairly new brakes in at the end of a warm-up lap.
29 cars heading to the grid in Suzuka. Race 2 of the Japan weekend is about to get underway. On the right of your picture, Norbert Michaelis. On the left, Rob Huff. On row 2, Gabriele Tarquini to play rear gunner to Norby, and behind him, Kevin Chekon. Row 3, Ted Bjerk and Esteban Guerrieri. Bjerk, who lies 4th in the championship. Norby lies 2nd. And Guerrieri, the points leader. The cars are on the grid. They're all in their grid boxes. We are ready to go racing here in Suzuka. 24 laps lay ahead of us on the East Circuit, just 2.2 kilometers. It's a 59-second lap. The revs rise, the lights go on, and away we go. Good start from Norbert Michaelis. Decent start from Gabriele Tarquini, and Norby's just got enough to hold Rob Huff off. Mustn't cross the white line. Norby stays on the inside, and Rob Huff is right with him. Tarquini, though, shuts the door, and around the outside goes Montero. He's outside Ted Bjerk. Underneath Bjerk, it looks like the other KCMG Honda, Attila Tashi. Bjerk escapes. He's in 5th. Behind Kevin Chekon's Alpha, behind Tarquini, behind Huff, and behind leader Michaelis, and behind them everybody else is jockeying for position. We'll catch up with those later, but critically Norby escaped in turn 1, so that's the main part done. He's in one piece, and so here is Guerrieri.
Yeah, the VW running a wee bit lighter than the Hyundai, so Norby was conscious that he could have a bit of straight line, but all the way very, very cleanly through turn 1, all 29 cars, which I think is the first forever.
Guerrieri trying to hold off Ascona, and behind him Christopherson. Guerrieri on the inside line. Ahead of Esteban Guerrieri is Thiago Montero. Oh, and Ascona dives down the inside the Honda. Here comes Christopherson as well. Now Guerrieri with Girolami, his teammate, behind. Girolami is still in the championship hunt as well, kind of mathematically. So Guerrieri not taking any chances there, having had a shocker of a weekend where he was basically ping-ponged around all the way through in China. This time he's keeping his nose clean. You can't fight for points if you're sitting in the gravel track.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because Girolami's not out the championship altogether. You know, he's still quite in touch as much as anybody is. So it'd be interesting to see the politics there now. Is he going to rear gun for Guerrieri, or is he just going to, is it every man for himself still? I
think it's a bit every man for himself. Jean-Carl Vernet inside Attila Tashi, but Tashi couldn't cover off the Audi driver. There's the view back from Vernet. Tashi has gone through. Next up to try and attack the young Hungarian will be Frederick Vervich's Audi. Now the Audis were pretty quick, certainly the Come To You Audis, the grey and red Audis were very quick in the rain. Frederick Vervich, oh! Jean-Carl Vernet with Attila Tashi trying to get back underneath him. That's for 12th position.
Yeah, two big movers on the grid in race 1 were Muller and Vernet, both making up, well, Muller made up probably 12 or 13 places. Yep. Vernet he was from 12 to 6. So he was more at the sharp end, but he was the ones who could make good progress.
Muller's made up 2 spots already as Tarquini goes defensive from Chekon. Tarquini chased Chekon to the line last year on the Grand Prix circuit in race 3, and Tarquini ended up winning it despite finishing 2nd because Kevin Chekon had a 5-second penalty for not starting in his grid box. Did note on the grid there were a couple of cars with their tyres on the line. Not quite sure how on the line we have to be. Looking forward from Chekon, there is Gabriele Tarquini.
You can see Tarquini's car, it's moving around a lot, isn't it?
I was thinking that. It's a little bit of a sideways handful, isn't it? I mean, he's got a lot of rear end on that car.
Yeah, but the one thing they don't want to run out of is front end.
Yeah.
So they're going to set them up, the cars. If it was me, you'd set up the car so you can just about hang on to it for the first 2, 3, 4, 5 laps and hope it's going to settle down, and then you get a good balance and maybe lose the front end a wee bit at the end.
Yeah. And Gabriele's been around the block a few times. I mean, this is not his first rodeo, is it? So he will be used to that. And Black and white flag for car number 5 for driving standards. That's Norbert Mikulis. Say what now?
He's definitely going on to that.
Oh, that was for moving all the way over to the right-hand side to keep Rob Huff off the line. So, okay, fair enough. Well, that was one long, consistent move. Huffy knew it was coming and could take reasonable action as a result.
Now, the one thing about this Suzuka East circuit layout, it's more like the Indy circuit as Brands Hatch is. It makes the racing very close, very frenetic, but it is difficult to overtake around here. So as long as, you know, Norby and co don't make mistakes, it's that
was Verne, and Verne having a little look at Benny Loister's golf. Well, this is Norby moving over on Rob. He's ahead of Rob.
He's into the pit lane.
Yeah. Well, it's a dotted line. He doesn't leave the track. He moves over ahead of Rob. Okay, that's a little bit...
You get the black and white flag warning for driving behavior. For what? For what, Lito?
Yeah.
Norby, stay calm. Just I advise you, don't worry, stay calm.
Okay, that should have been at the beginning of the sentence. Norby, there's nothing to worry about, but... You have been warned about your driving stance, so just be careful.
Don't do anything else.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. Lap 7 of 24 here on the East Circuit at Suzuka, and again defensive action from Attila Tashi as around the outside goes the Audi of Fredrik Vervisch, and Tashi just hanging on there in 13th place ahead of Vervisch. A note right behind is this car. This is Ivan Muller now. He's only made up 2 places. He, unsurprisingly, got ahead of Andy Priault and Jan Ehrlichie fairly early on, his teammates. But Muller now is in the real meat of the field, the really quick stuff. And every one of these places could be worth its weight in gold in points. But Matt, he's going to have to work damn hard to get any of these places now.
Yeah, Muller's in...
Oh, Tashi's off! So a lot of that as you go over the brow, turning off the Grand Prix loop, the car goes light, the road goes away from you. It's almost as if it's sort of wildly off camber. Tashi was a fraction offline and went off through the gravel.
And that's going to lose the momentum all the way down the start-finish straight. So, yeah, there'll be Vervisch and Muller straight through, both up a point, and a whole bunch of them behind them. But
Gordon Shedden we saw going by is in 20th place. So you don't see the beginning of it, but Tashi drifts out wide. Muller's been off as well. Look at the filth on his spoiler. Tashi way out wide.
How did Tashi get that far out?
Just turning in late, you go over the brow and you're on the wrong side of the crown of the road, if you like, and it just pushes you out wide. In the dry, not so noticeably, so he must have just been really feeling the pressure and trying to eke out a fraction more under braking, and just overdid it. Chacon on his own, pulling out a slipstream with Tarquini. Now that's not to shape up a move. Matt, there is no respite for the brakes apart from this short front straight. So everybody, I'm sure, will be conscientious about trying to keep the car, the brake temperatures and the engine temperatures in check. And the straight's the only place you can do it. Everything else, you're braking, turning, braking, turning.
Yeah, it's interesting just watching the in-car from Muller there, Muller's Lincoln Co. The Audi of Vervisch, it's got good straight line speed with the current BOP. Ooh, Tassie's hanging on to that 100 at the minute, isn't he?
He's ahead of Coronel. Coronel's made good progress, actually. He's up to 22nd from last on the grid.
Wasn't he? Yeah.
Dead last. Not the greatest season for Tom Coronel. A little bit disappointing in every direction. And Tashi, look how sideways he is as they crest that rise. The car goes light and the back end goes even lighter. He nearly got caught out there again. Coronel up behind him in the yellow Cupra, celebrating DHL's 50th anniversary. Behind him, Daniel Hegloff. Hegloff was looking quick as well in his Cupra.
Well, he's looking for the switchback, but Tassie's got it covered.
Yeah, Hegloff went off, lost his decent lap, which was good enough for 8th place in qualifying, because he caused a red flag. So did Coronel. So, unbelievably, did Ivan Muller, remember, in qualifying? So in the rain, there was all sorts of problems for these drivers. Hegloff trying to find a way by. Hegloff's teammate, by the way, where's he gone to? Mikel Ascona in 8th place with Johan Kristoffersson at the moment in 7th.
Yeah, this little crocodile from Tassie back. If any of them blink, they're going to...
yeah, absolutely.
They're going to lose more than a heap of places.
Well, that view was from Mehdi Banani, who's a long way back from teammate Rob Huff this weekend. Huff still in 2nd behind leader Norbert Mikelic. And here's the queue behind Tashi. Tashi's going very defensive. Coronel, middle and leg. Around the outside goes Daniel Hegloff, trying to keep up the momentum.
Yeah, Hagloff's getting frustrated now there. He wants Coronel to get on with the job and move on up.
And Tashi clinging on. And this is indicative of exactly what it's like all the way through the field, because there's the car of Ted Björk, and Björk with Thiago Monteiro behind him. Gradually, I mean, after a really frantic race one yesterday, gradually this is settling down into spreading out in roughly qualifying order. Thiago Monteiro looked like he might have had a chance at victory yesterday. Started the race from pole position.
Thiago's been quick all weekend,
yeah.
Wet and dry, so I was hopeful that Thiago would make a little bit more progress. But
yeah. Well, both he and Tashi. Tashi started well up on the grid. He'll be very well up in the race 2 order as well.
You know, the time drop off from the start to the finish of the race, considering how short the lap is, was quite dramatic. You know, we got almost a 2.5 second drop off from the first lap to the last in lap time. So we're currently working on about a second.
Yeah.
So there's still going to be some tyre dead going on. Oh!
Niels Langeveld is off. Now, don't forget, Fredrik Verbic had a puncture in race 1, left front. That was from a bit of debris that had been picked up, got wedged between the brake caliper and the wheel, and the debris sliced through the inside of the tyre. Don't think Langeveld's got a puncture. Not sure what happened to him, though, but he is shot off the side of the road.
Where was Langeveld? He was quite well down, wasn't he?
Way down the order. He was down at the back of this group, I think. Well, there he is, in fact, behind Mehdi Banani, and oh, little touch there. Do you want to put money on who that was?
The guy who's just been sat on the naughty steps since yesterday.
It was, unfortunately, Nicky Katzberg. Now, that was definitely not worthy of an Andy Priaulx-style rant after yesterday's race.
I think that's one of those things, unfortunately.
It was just one of those things, yeah. Langeveld drifted out wide. Tarquini in 3rd, and Chacon in 4th. And Huff in 2nd, all of which is good news for Norbert Mikelic, who will retake the championship lead from Esteban Guerrieri. And critically, all of those places are places where Ted Björk can't be. Björk is in 5th, so he can't move up, can't gain more points on Norby. And this is all good for Mikelic. Mikelic will bounce back to the top of the order as of now. Crikey, Norby very sideways. Rob Huff is close. Norby's last lap was a 55.1, Huff's was a 54.9. Rob Huff is getting closer and closer to the race leader, and Tarquini coming under increasing pressure. Kevin Chacon's flashing the headlights. He won't want to nudge the old man out of the way, but he might need to. Ted Björk's in 5th, Matt.
Both Hyundai's coming under increasing pressure now. It's obviously getting a little bit more tyre deg on them, so the Alfa looked after its tyres well yesterday. The VW Golf, you know, we predicted Huffy would be up there, and I don't think he's going to be shy on making his nose shown to Michelitz. Well,
there's Ma in the other Alfa. Inside Mehdi Banani, through to as well comes Ritomo Miata, 77, the Super GT racer who makes his WTCR debut in a wildcard Audi. Mehdi Banani lost 2 places on that lap. Teammate Rob Huff did not gain 1. Huff got right up behind Norbert Mikelic, but Norby responded by finding another 10th. Gabriele Tarquini still holding on to third from Kevin Chekon. Björk, the blue car, still fifth ahead of Montero, Christopherson, Ascona, and then Esteban Guerrieri with Nesta Girolami riding shotgun behind him, and Benny Leuchter and Jean-Carl Vernet entertaining each other and the crowds, but not threatening either of the Munich Motorsport Hondas in front. And as long as Vernet keeps attacking Leuchter, that's good news for Girolami and for Guerrieri.
Yeah, what's apparent is the guys who could really make good progress yesterday, they just seem to be stuck there today, whether it's now because it is, well, it was dry yesterday, but they've all sorted the cars out and they know what to do with them and how to run them. But it's a much tougher ask for those guys today.
Confirmation that contact with Langeveld was Augusto
Checon's on the attack.
Whoa, Chekon underneath, behind, up the back of, through the exhaust of Gabriele Tarquini. It was Farfus who made contact with Langeveld, not Nicky Katzberg. They were both in vaguely the same parts of the track. And now all four Hyundais are as near identical as the team can possibly make it. Unfortunately, it makes it very tough to identify which is which. Hegloff around the outside, Marcinkois on the inside. This is all in the queue behind.
Well, that's Katzberg's done Hegloff, isn't he?
No, that's number 8. That's
Farfus. Right, okay.
So Farfus was, yeah, he has got by Hegloff for 23rd.
Just blaming everything on Katzberg, the poor guy.
Yeah. So Farfus has moved up. Trying to find where Katzberg is. Katzberg's up in 18th, in fact, so he's behind the other Audi. And Tarquini goes very defensive very early. Chekon could get by here. This is only lap 18 of 24.
Okay, he's tried the switchback. He's trying the long way round now.
Yeah.
Oh. You can hear the wheel spin as he tries to get on the throttle earlier.
He's got more pace than the Hyundai, hasn't he? Same as last year. The Alfa was a really great little pocket rocket around here.
I mean, this is the circuit. It should suit Martin.
Yeah. But on the Grand Prix circuit, it suited really well as well. Didn't qualify on pole for race 1. That was the Honda, the Peugeot, but Panis got by him in Spoon and then ran away. Chekon got by him in Spoon and then ran away to win and was on the podium in race 2 from the reverse top 10 grid and was the victor on the road in race 3 as well. Well, Norbert Michelis ahead of Rob Huff. I wonder how much of England's stunning Rugby World Cup victory against New Zealand Huffy saw yesterday. Won't be thinking about that at the moment. Nesta Girolami holding off Benny Leuchter and Jean-Carl Vernet, and Girolami being drawn back into that queue now. And behind Vernet is Vervish, and behind him is Muller.
Guerrieri's having a very lonesome race at the moment in 9th. I mean, Girolami's doing a real tail gunner role for him.
Yeah, that's good news because Guerrieri can't get close to Ascona. Guerrieri will be in 4th place on the race 3 grid, so he's got to keep the car in one piece. Really, really needs to be in 100% condition at the end of this race. You don't want to be messing around changing radiators or something in repair time. Now, suddenly, where's Chekon gone? Why has he vanished off the back of Tarquini? He's still there in the Alfa, but he's nowhere near as close as he was. Here comes Vernet. Vernet's got to run on Leuchter. Can't go outside, inside. Yeah, not sure the Audi's going to let him go outside either.
You can see that Audi, we saw it with Verfish earlier. It's not slow in a straight line. I know they reckon it's slippy, but you know, a little bit of his grunt on a short straight like we've got.
Yeah.
Aero is less comes into play.
I bet he's wishing that they had the full Grand Prix circuit to play with. Some good long runs from 130R down to the Casio Triangle. That would really be a happy hunting ground for those guys. Starting lap 21, 3 to go for Norbert Michelis. Rob Huff still there in 2nd place and still not able to mount a challenge. If he's got anything, Huff may have to use it and try and catch Norby by surprise on the last lap. But it does look like this Hyundai i30N has just about got the Golf covered off. Here comes Vernet down the inside of Girolami. Leuchter's on the inside. Vernet does them both. Girolami was defending against Leuchter. Vernet got the run. And behind, Verbisch can't get through. Nork and Muller, watch Muller. 2 laps to go after this, 3 laps to go after this. And Muller is desperately trying to find more points. Doesn't want to lose contact with the leaders, with Guerrieri, with Norby, but critically doesn't want to lose contact with Ted Bjerg, so that in the final 2 race weekends he's suddenly then having to service Bjerg's championship challenge. Bjerg's currently behind Muller in the points coming into this race. That will change now. 2 to go after this lap.
Kevin Chacon seems to be flashing his lights, whether he's close to Gabrielli or miles back. He seems to have his finger stuck on the button or something.
Absolutely, absolutely. Girolami still holding on. Verne has gone and is now attacking Guerrieri, but Girolami holding off Leuchter and Verbisch. And here is Thiago Monteiro. Montero's getting racy behind Ted Bjerg. Montero's not a championship challenger. Bjerg is. At the moment, Muller will finish the race in 3rd, but Bjerg will be single digits behind, maybe even a couple of points behind him. So for Ted Bjerg, hanging on to this position, 5th place, where he finished race 1 yesterday, is really, really important. Leader across the line and gone for 3rd place. Tarquini holds on for Chacon, who goes the long way around the outside. The Alfa driver gets a nudge from his Italian counterpart. Tarquini, the veteran, gives Chacon a little nudge from the inside.
Well, he drifted out wide. It was a bit, but
it wasn't intentional, but he won't necessarily have been overly fussed that it happened.
Would have Chacon got the move done if he hadn't had contact?
Maybe not.
Maybe, yeah,
maybe not. But behind, Ted Bjerg, under pressure from Thiago Monteiro, and then Johan Kristoffersson and the grey car of Mikael Ascona. And there is Bjerg. The car is getting more and more sideways in that cut through. Norman Michelis with Rob Huff behind him. The gap at the line was 0.3 of a second. The gap between Tarquini and Chacon was under 0.2 of a second. Chacon again goes outside. Still there, still there.
Oh, he can't hold it, can he?
No.
He can't do it.
Well, there's not room. He'll just run out of room on the exit, run over those curves on the dirt, and he'll lose ground all the way up this hill. And although it sort of undulates here, it is basically uphill almost all the way. You drop down here and then you climb again. This is the bit of the track you can't afford to lose momentum in.
It seems to be the run into turn 1 and just reliance on someone making a mistake in turn 1 is almost the only place to make a...
Checkered flag is out. Norman Michelis takes victory. The laps fly by in a sentence. And Norby wins it from Rob Huff. Gabriele Tarquini's going to take 3rd. It'll be a 1-3 for the Hyundais. Kevin Chacon in 4th. Ted Bjerg in 5th. Other championship challengers, Esteban Guerrieri behind in 10th place. And Ivan Muller in the points in 14th. In the end, Muller only in this race passing his own teammates. Now don't forget, in race 1, which was also dry, he came from 25th to 12th. The safety net in race 1 was they had overnight to repair any damage. Here, you have to be a little bit aware that race 3 is staring you in the face as well as what you do in race 2.
Yeah, Verne made progress. Who else made progress? Muller a bit.
Yeah.
Besides that, it was a bit of a...
It is a little follow my leader,
yeah,
because of race 3 also being around the corner.
Yes. Norby, bravissimo, bravissimo. Well done, Norby, well done.
So 3rd place for Gabriele Tarquini, victory for Norbert Michelis, and for Rob Huff, Matt Neal, a 1st podium this year. Can you believe that?
Is that right?
Absolutely.
You wouldn't have put money on that at the beginning of the year. But great result for Hyundai team.
Yeah.
You know, 2 cars, they're 2 focused cars.
And in the team's championship as well, they're both in the same part of the Hyundai team, so that really helps them as well. But it is victory in race 2 in Suzuka for Norbert Mikulits and the points lead. Well, Norby knew that he'd be under pressure all the way from Rob, and so it proved. Gabrielli was the rear gunner. If Tarquini hadn't been there, Chacon would have been in the mix for the win as well, and that would have made Norby's life twice as hard. But there, Rob Huff, all right, didn't have quite what he needed to take the win. He won't begrudge it of Norby. But finally, after the year that he's had in the Golf, he gets a podium finish. Of course, next time we go to his favourite track, perhaps on the planet, Macau, and he will be going for win number 10.
I thought he got 10 already.
Has he got 10 already? Well, I'm starting
Maybe.
to...
I don't know, it's a lot.
That
Whatever it is, it's a lot.
Starting to lose count because he's got so darn many wins in Macau.
And the BOP should be starting to come back to the VW as well.
Yeah,
So.
well, except he's just finished on the podium here and he had the second fastest race lap. Fastest race lap was a 53.888 for Norby. Second fastest race lap, a 53.968 for Huff. Nobody else below a 54.
Norby looks a little bit cooler than when they got him on the radio comms earlier in the race, doesn't he?
Yeah. Again, it's not the message. Sometimes it's how you deliver it. What? No, don't do that. He's got enough what in his life with Rob Huff breathing up his exhaust pipe. He doesn't need them getting on the radio going, oh, you've got a black and white flag. He needs them just to be calming him first. Well, let's get down to Parc Fermé and catch up with Alex Legui and our hot and sweaty race winner.
Norby Mikulits, you take the win, your fourth win of the season, and you've won the last 4 rounds now. Congratulations, back on the top again.
Yeah, fantastic. To be honest, the race was very, very difficult because I tried to do a gap in the beginning. I managed to do that. I was seeing that Rob is falling back 1/10 after the other, but looking at the whole race, I think he just had a very clever approach because he saved his tires and he was able to come back strong towards the end of the race. To be honest, for me, it was 24 qualifying laps. I was on the limit. I was 2 or 3 times going sideways. And in the end, I mean, we go for the championship. It's the only approach for me to go flat out, to go full. And yeah, I'm very happy with my performance and very happy with the team's performance because, again, winning races, scoring this amount of points after the difficult qualifying, I think is important.
Now 6 points ahead of Esteban Guerrieri. What do you reckon you can do in race 3?
My approach will be the same. I will start P10. We need to go for points. Okay, not doing anything crazy because sometimes position 10, 9 or 8 can give you 6, 7, 8 points. And if I can grab that, I'm happy with that. But if opportunity arises to take a place in front, I will go for it.
Well done, Norby.
Thanks.
Norbert Mikulits retaking the championship lead with this win ahead of Rob Huff and Gabriele Tarquini. Of his rivals, Ted Burt now closes to within 5 points of third-place teammate Ivan Muller, and Esteban Guerrieri 10th place. Well, again, every single point counts here. Guerrieri did what he could, so did Muller. Another fighting effort from the Frenchman. So our top group are still there. Nesta Girolami 83 points back, but there are nearly 200 points still to play for in the remainder of the season. Let's take a look at the points table then. Norbert Mikulits, what's that? 6 points ahead of Esteban Guerrieri, and then some clear air. Guerrieri 31 ahead of Muller. Björk just 5 behind Ivan. Starts the final race here ahead of Ivan as well, significantly ahead. Ashkanar still in 5th place in the championship. If there was a rookie crown, he would be leading that by a substantial margin. Well, of the 29 starters in this race, 28 made it to the finish. Only Niels Lagerveld did not. Lunch being delivered to the marshals. That's very nice indeed. Give them a chance to have a little bit of a rest. The mechanics, though, less so. Repair time is about to get underway. Race 2 in Suzuka, Japan, and with Norbert Mikulits on pole position ahead of Rob Huff. Gabriele Tarquini's job was to try and help Norby wherever he could. Norby started by helping himself, covering off Huff right from the start. The stewards gave him a warning about his driving standards, but there was no contact. Huff never was alongside. Norby had the right to take whatever line he wanted, and so he did. Tarquini tucked in 3rd, Kevin Chicon's Alpha behind, but Attila Tashi dropped from 10th to 20th place, going off early in the race. 24 frenetic laps around the short Suzuka East Circuit. Wherever you were always in a battle for something. One retirement, Niels Lagerveld, after contact on the inside from Augusto Farfus. He was the only one of the 29 cars that didn't make it through. Chicon tried inside, outside, almost over the top of Tarquini. Could not get by for 3rd place. The veteran Italian hanging on under a real concerted effort from the Alfa driver. A 2-time winner on the road here last year. But Norbert Mikulits took victory and retook the points lead, with Rob Huff getting his 1st podium of the season. Rob Gabrielli chatting with Norby. One of the things, Matt Neal, that you do find in this paddock is that the drivers spend a lot of time together and do get on well.
Yeah, they're sat in airports together, on planes together, you know, in foreign lands together, where they'll be having to kill time. So, and a lot of these guys have been around a long time.
Yep.
You know, the Mullers and the Tarquinis and the Huffs. So,
and they all know they're in a bit of a golden era of touring car racing as well. You know, this is some of the most talented touring car drivers on the planet, all gathered together in one grid. 26 of the very best. And whether they're in their 5th decade, like Gabriele Tarquini, or only just into their 2nd, like Mikel Ascona, they're all battling to win.
Ladies and gentlemen, konnichiwa, hello, welcome to the podium of race 2 of this weekend's FIA World Touring Car Cup by Oscaro Race of Japan. Ready? Please welcome onto the podium in 3rd position from BRC Hyundai N Squadra Corse, it's Gabriele Tarquini. In 2nd position from SLR Volkswagen Motorsport, it's Rob Huff. And from BRC Hyundai N Squadra Corse, your winner is Norby Mikulits. And representing BRC Hyundai N Squadra Corse, it's Gabriele Rizzo. And now for the national anthems for both BRC Hyundai N Squadra Corse and Norby Mikulits. the trophies. The Vice Chairman of the race, Naoki Nagasaka, will present the third position trophy to BRC Hyundai N Squadra Corses Gabriele Tacquini. Masakatsu Kume, Senior Executive Director of Japan Automobile Federation, will present the second position trophy to SLR Volkswagen Motorsports Rob Huff. Shoichiro Iguchi, President and Chief Executive Officer of JVC Kenwood, will present the winning driver trophy to BRC Hyundai N Squadra Corses Novi Michelitz. And Masakatsu Kume, the Senior Executive Director of Japan Automobile Federation, will present the winning team trophy to BRC Hyundai N Squadra Corses Gabriele Rizzo. Please come together for your official photograph. Grab your bottles, gents. Let's party!
That's very happy looking faces for Hyundai N Squadra Corsa. First and third for Gabriele Rizzo's men. And that definitely helps them in their team's battle against Sign Racing Lincoln Co. So Norbert Michelitz takes victory in race 2, the first race today, and regains the points lead.
Oh, Norby, how is it to be back on the top step once again?
Honestly, it doesn't matter by now. I said many times, if I can choose, I prefer to stay in front, but it's still so many races to go. We have a race in like 50 minutes, so my focus is on that.
Rob was putting an awful lot of pressure on you.
Yeah, he's quite clever. I mean, he's one of the best. He was doing a very good race. I mean, he managed his pace in the beginning. He was saving his tires, and he had a big attack towards the end. I didn't have a lot left, but fortunately it was enough.
It's lucky you've got the old fox keeping back the rest of the pack as well. We'll come to you in a second. You go off, get ready for race 3. Rob, good to see you back up on the podium.
Finally. Yeah, it was a good race. Yeah, as Norby saw, I just took it easy in the beginning. I knew that Kevin would put Gabriele under a lot of pressure, as he did me yesterday. So I knew I'd have a bit of a gap from Gabriele, and then just managed to pace to Norby, and then just closed it with 10 laps to go and put him under some pressure, but there's nowhere to go here. So tried my best. Just obviously don't want to get involved in any championship battles, and I'm well aware that Norby's up there. So yeah, didn't do anything silly, just took a podium, some champagne and a trophy.
Good, very nice too. Thank you, Rob. The old fox is back. I think the last time we saw you on the podium was...
China.
Oh yeah, okay, fair enough. The win was hungry. Anyway, Italian, you two, you and Checo, my goodness me, I dread to think what the Italian language was like on the radios.
Yeah, it was quite hot with Kevin because he was the fastest car in the race, I think. Also yesterday, I mean, they show a great pace. I knew that I had to slow down a little bit him because he can catch also the leader group in 2 laps, because in the middle of the race he proved that he was 1 second faster than everybody else. So it was very tough, but in the end I saved my position and I give also a good space between the first group and the rest of the group.
Great fun for us to watch as well. Go and enjoy race 3. Thank you very much, Gabriele.
Thank you very much indeed, Alex. Sterling stuff. Sign Racing Lincoln Co. still leading the team's points from All In Cool Munich Motorsport. But look at that, there are 15 points covering the top 3. BRC, Hyundai and Squadra Corsa with Norby and Gabriele 1-3, closing right in. Sign Racing Lincoln Co. scoring with Ted in 6th position and Ivan in 5th position, and Ivan in, where did he end up, 12th? So they're clinging to a tenuous lead, or a slender lead, but it is a big 3-way battle with the Munich Motorsport cars also involved, and both of them were in the points with Guerrieri in 10th and Girolami 11th. Girolami, by the way, not out of the championship yet. With 195 points on offer. Lots of drivers are, quote, not out of the championship yet. There's Nils Langeveld, our only retirement. Yesterday led the race away from the front row of the grid, but then ended up in 2nd place behind Esteban Guerrieri. He actually drifted out wide, similar to Mikel Ascona, lost the lead early on, but he took his first ever WTCR podium. Frederick Vervisch, his teammate, consistently quick all year, but Langeveld has blown a little hot and cold. Sometimes he's found it difficult to really keep the car on the ultimate pace. And with that, you know, with all of Vervisch's experience of all sorts of different forms of racing, in single-seaters, in GTs, in IndyCar, Vervisch has got a huge depth of knowledge to draw on that Langeveld is still busy building. But Langeveld has got good pace and a podium yesterday, and I think Al is with him, about to have a chat.
Niels, you seem to spend more time coming in and out of the pit lane during that race than out on track. What happened?
Yeah, I was in the train with Tassi in front. He hauled up everybody behind him, and yeah, we could just follow because overtaking was very difficult here. Only on the main straight, but I missed some speed on the exit in the last corner. But in the corner before, suddenly Farfus was on the inside. He was completely on the inside. And we hit each other, and I did not know he was there. And then I bounced off him into the gravel, and my power steering shut down.
How much damage? I'm going to assume it's fine for race 3.
No, I will start. The car is finished already. I only had some Sturz problems, so they changed that, and yeah, we switched, reset the car to make sure the power steering worked again. So.
Good. Best of luck.
Thanks.
Stutz problems, okay. Anybody want to translate that from the Dutch? I'm not quite sure. Sounds like it was just a fuse that tripped. Kevin Chicon, yeah. What's the Italian for comme ci, comme ça? Had a great battle with Gabriele Tarquini. Gabriele might have been over egging it a little, saying that Chicon was a second a lap quicker, but definitely the Alpha really again here in Suzuka. Last year on the Grand Prix circuit, here on the short circuit, the E-circuit, a very competitive proposition. And Chicon just off the podium, with 3 podiums here last year. Well, there is the Mulsanne team garage, and Alex Legui has beetled over to catch up with Kevin Chicon.
Make a lady work, don't you, Kevin? Talk us through that race. That was rather entertaining.
Yeah, at least the people at home enjoy it, and especially all the Italian people watching the race, as it's 3 a.m. there. At least they stay awake.
It didn't look like there was any chance of you getting around him.
I try the maximum possible. He's actually the World Touring Car Cup champion, so I try the maximum. One time I got him outside of turn 1, then he touched me and I lose the rear of the car. He is experienced, not only World Touring Car Cup champion, he's a legend. He's almost 60. I don't know how old Gabriele is, so he uses it.
70.
Yeah.
You were certainly fighting with the best, weren't you? How are your tyres?
Good, still good. That's why I tried to pass him, but it didn't work out. We will see. At least I enjoyed the battle with the World Touring Car Cup legend, and as he's Italian, I followed Gabriele when I was really young, and I was still racing go-kart, and he was already a champion, and so from one side I am upset because I want that podium so much for myself, for the team, for everyone. But in the short track it's almost impossible to overtake, and I try the maximum. We push each other a bit. I hope he enjoys as well, and I will take this as an experience.
You certainly drove very, very hard, Kevin. You start this next race in P3. What can you do from there? Wait, well, P7, sorry.
I would say, that's another good chance. Yeah, I don't know. I have 2 Lincoln Co in front, and I have Gabriele on my side. We will see again, me and Gabri. So Italian fans will enjoy it, and we will see. I don't know. I hope that there will be a hard fight in the lap 1 to get some position. Then we will see. As I say, it's very difficult to overtake, but I start P7. I need points for sure. But I am not fighting for anything. I have anything to lose. I want to be on that podium again, so I will try again this time, even if, of course, from P7 is harder.
Thank you, Kevin. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Again, with 195 points still up for grabs, including race 3, qualifying in Macau and in Malaysia, and all of the remaining 6 races after this one. Still strictly about 2/3 of the field are in the championship hunt. Of course, with every time they start a race, fewer and fewer of them will remain in the championship hunt. Benny Loiter in the Golf, he'll start in 13th place for this final race. He started in 12th after Andy Prio's penalty on the race 2 grid. And that was after the incident yesterday with Nicky Katzberg. Prio was so infuriated that he waited at the side of the track to point the finger at Nicky, and she probably got away relatively lightly there because he repeatedly refused to obey the instructions of the marshals to move to a place of safety, and actually moved to a place of even less safety than where the car had ended up. Now that's entirely understandable because he'd just been heavily pitched off into the barriers in his battle with Nicky Katzberg. Katzberg, for his part, of course, saying that Prio braked a lot earlier than he was anticipating. They were deep in on the right-hand side, basically in the pit exit lane, under braking. And when Andy hit the brakes, Nicky Katzberg, I think, was caught unawares. Certainly Jan Erlache ahead of Andy, but on the racing line was still hard on the throttle when Prio was on the brakes offline on the dirty part of the track, basically braking as late as he thought was safe. Nicky Katzberg caught out, ran into the back of Prio. Prio got fired off, and Prio and the team were not particularly complimentary about Nicky Katzberg afterwards. Well, let's catch up with the man who starts on the DHL pole for our 3rd and final race, Johan Kristoffersson.
Talk us through that race. We heard you on the radios complaining that you were the slowest of the V-dubs.
Yeah, but I mean, you always struggle for more pace. You always want to go faster, and you always want to have an easier race, and that's how it is. And I mean, I'm looking forward for the last race, and I know that I have to have good pace if I should be able to win. So that's what we are targeting.
But you weren't struggling for pace until now.
No, not really. But you know, you also cannot just say on the radio that everything is happy days and guys stop working. So you have to always try to go forward. And obviously I saw Rob had a great race and had great pace. So I will see something from him, and I will also look on the driving, see if I can do something better. And then hopefully I will have a good start. And from there on it will be a fight all the way to the checkered flag.
Good. Forward to it.
Thank you.
Well, let's hope he doesn't have the slowest VW in the place, because he will be starting on pole ahead of Thiago Monteiro and Mikel Ascona. But as ever, a real thinking driver, Johan Kristoffersson. Well, here are 2 of our 3 wildcards. This is Ritomo Miyata, who just moved out of shot, and Ryuichiro Tomita. And Tomita races in Super GT and in Japanese Formula 3. He was the runner-up in the Japanese Formula 3 Championship this year. And the two of them racing for this Japanese Audi team. So both entered as wildcards. TCR Japan is racing here this weekend as well. And indeed, Super Formula is racing here for its season finale. So they had to qualify in the rain as well, or practice in the rain on Friday. They'll be very grateful indeed, I think, that today's final race is dry. Among the leading lights there, Harrison Newey, son of designer Adrian Newey, who had a monumental shunt in 130R. Apparently, it's not one hand and adjust your loose mirror like it is for Formula 1 cars. Well, here's Mikael Ascona, 5th place in the championship standings, and head and shoulders leading the rookie points this year, were there such a thing. Just 76 points off the championship lead. Now, it takes a lot to imagine that suddenly the PWR cars are going to have consistently all the pace to overhaul everybody else in front. But mathematically, it's not impossible. He's ahead of Nesta Girolami, for instance, and Girolami, don't forget, was the championship leader for the first 2 race weekends. So Nesta Girolami not out of the hunt, only 83 points back with 195 on offer. But it does seem that Girolami has now kind of decided that luck is not running his way, and his teammate and good friend Esteban Guerrieri will get his support. Jean-Carl Vernet here. He will start in 14th place on the grid in the WRT Audi. And Gordon Shedden will start in 26th position. Flash having another tough weekend in the Audi. Parked the car during yesterday's race as unsafe to drive. And it really was a dreadful handful. I'm not sure that that is particularly inspiring him with confidence for race 2 and 3. But he did at least get to the end of race 2. So we'll hope for a little bit more progress up the field from Gordon Shedden in the 3rd encounter here in Suzuka. Fueling the cars now is about to commence. So we have 15 minutes of repair time, the first 5 minutes of which is only for refueling. You can see the fuel churns ready there for Esteban Guerrieri's car. So there's no high-pressure fueling system. It is just gravity-fed because it's not done in race pit stops. It is all just between the races. So the repair time will start in just under 4 minutes. And some of the VIP guests heading off onto the grid. That's one of the delights of coming to watch or be a guest at WTCR, is you get to see a lot of World Championship drivers, a lot of real quality entries, and you can mingle on the grid in a way that you could only dream of, say, for instance, in a Formula 1 Grand Prix. Tom Coronel with Aurelian Panis alongside, and both of those Cupras run by Come To You. Come To You ran 4 Audis last year. This year, 2 Audis and 2 Cupras. And Matt Neal with the 2 Cupras, considering for Come To You it's a car that has come to them sort of unknown, unlike the Audi, they've done a pretty good job. The Cupra's been sparklingly entertaining on occasions, and Come To You and PWR have both had some pretty good pace from their cars.
Yeah, it's a shame in the damp and the ultra wet conditions we had on Thursday, Friday. The coupe, I mean, especially the DHL cars pairing were super strong, both Panis and Coronel. And the way it panned out for this qualifying, it just hasn't worked for them. I mean, they ended up down the back end of the grid, and it's just, you know, Tom always puts a smile on his face, doesn't he?
Well, he does. You know, he is genuinely an enthusiastic, happy chap the entire time. He works so hard to put this raft of sponsors together so he can go racing. And in fact, he did so much with DHL that he put together a sponsorship package that supports a two-car team. It's not just himself. That's why the livery on Aurelian Panis' car is predominantly the same, because most of it is Tom's raft of sponsors. So, you know, he's doing as much as he can, does an awful lot on social media for his sponsors. So it's not just about the races and the results. He really tries to give added value to them. And actually, genuinely, win, lose, or yes, of course, he'd love to have a great weekend. But for Tom, he just loves being back in Japan. Spent a lot of his formative years here, both in racing and in human terms. And it's had a huge effect on him, this country.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to look at drivers who give something back to their sponsor and to the championship,
yeah.
Coronel, okay, he's not getting the out-and-out results at the moment, but he is the one who works at it and pushes the boundaries, pushes the limits of what you're allowed to do and not allowed to do, and just to get exposure and just to get voice and just to do, you know, things a bit off the wall.
Yeah, well, he redefines what you can do, doesn't he? So he's always working hard for his sponsors. Well, Esteban Guerrieri started this race as the driver's points leader, ended it back in second. How does he feel after race 2?
Esteban, that sounded like that was quite a tricky race for you.
Yeah, pretty much. We just did a good start and, well, then tried to stay out of trouble, basically. I lost some positions, but that wasn't the biggest problem. That one came in the end when we started to struggle quite a bit with the car, and well, we just managed to finish the race with the front tires quite destroyed, to be honest. So I think we know what it is. Now we're gonna change something and yeah, try to keep the pace a good normal pace, which is what we need, and then yeah, just see how it goes.
Starting P3 for this race. You said that the car was standing a bit edgy.
Before, isn't it? Yeah, before. Yeah, before. But yeah, no, I mean the beginning of the race, the car felt fine, and then just a bit of unders here, more, and then I end up like almost struggling for a puncture, you know. So I was quite worried in the end, but well, it's just work out to finish at least. So now we wanna do the necessary changes to settle that problem and try then to be in a good pace and see how it goes the race, I said before. Okay, thank
you. Repair time getting underway. And again, with all 3 practices and qualifying on Friday run in monsoon conditions, it is a best judgment of your dry setup. Of course, you had yesterday's race to base it on, but still, clearly, teams are chasing a setup. Now, whose radiator was that was a bit loose?
Yeah, it's interesting. Guerrieri he finished yesterday's race, won it start to finish, from lights to flag, and was raving about everything. But he had clear air. Now he's tucked up behind people. You know, the difference between this and people who say watch British touring cars, the weight is a moving thing in British touring cars on your championship position, your race success. Here, the weight with the balance of performance, it's locked in for the weekend. So even though Guerrieri's won the first race, he will still be carrying the same weight now and for the next race, or, you know, throughout. So you can only attribute that he's stuck up behind someone. He's losing a bit of front downforce. That's sort of toasted his front tyres, and that's sort of made him, you know, struggle from that point on.
Ted, we heard that you were so focused during that race that you would have just kept on going. Didn't even notice the checker flag.
I had no idea what the checker flag was. I was just so focused on getting the points I could, because I was fighting very hard with my car. You know, in front of me, they just drove away on the straight, and it felt like, what is happening? So I just focused on myself and the driving and everything. So
You start in P6. What can you do from there?
no, I just keep fighting to a good start, try to get the position in the start, and then just try to do as good as I can. But I have to say hi to all the audience back at home. In the middle of the night, if you're up watching now, unbelievable. You should go to bed, but, you know, hope you're watching.
It's because the kids are watching you. They're up.
Probably sleeping, but my wife, I hope she watches.
Yeah, the kids, unfortunately, won't know that the clocks are going back in Europe, so they'll be up at the same time, but it'll be an hour earlier on your clock. So those of you who are watching through the night in Europe, hopefully race 3 will reward you for that, and hopefully some of the loyal fans will be watching their heroes in action here in the third and final encounter. Ted Björk starting 6th on the grid. And again, he will try and end up another top 4, 5, 6 position. Just gather up what points you can, and if you get an opportunity to go out and win something, then you've got to try and do that as well. So still work going on, just hoovering out debris, clearing radiators, maybe changing brake pads. Well, Andy Priaulx was in the centre of high drama in yesterday's race. What about today?
Very good to see your car back on track today, Andy, after yesterday's saga, but struggling with downshift.
Oh yeah, I had a little issue in that last race. I've solved that now. Just probably selecting it a little bit early, but yeah, reasonable balance. Pace isn't great down the start-finish straight. We're quite slow, so it means that we're always having to defend into turn 1, which makes it really hard. But yeah, I mean, I'm in 5th place. I had a really strong weekend, good performance in qualifying, so let's see what we can do from there.
How's the body feeling after yesterday?
Yeah, there's a few lumps and bumps and a few aches, but no, it's fine. It's not my first rodeo, so let's get on with it and see what we can do.
What do you think you can do from?
It's difficult. I don't think a podium's being unrealistic. I like that very much. So let's see if that's possible today.
Good. The fight is on.
Well, he's very quick in his Lincoln Co through the 3-part qualifying, and Matt Neal very nearly took his first ever WTCR pole. In the end, he drifted wide out the final corner, ran across the grass, and ended up 5th in the top 5 rather than 1st. So pole went to Johan Kristoffersson, who was on slicks, but Andy Priaulx had the pace, starting in 5th position, and a podium is a possibility, but the longest race of all, 28 laps, might be tough work on the Lincoln Co's tyres.
Yeah, it was unfortunate for Andy yesterday. He was quick enough. He definitely had the speed for pole position. The problem he's got now is the Lincoln Co isn't quick enough in a straight line with the balance of performance. It's not got the grunt down the straight that it needs.
Cars leaving the pit lane, starting with our 2 wildcards. Ryuichiro Tomita heading out to follow his teammate to the grid. Ritomo Miata has already left. They are cars 7 and 77. It was Augusto Farfus who was having a loose radiator unloosened, or refastened, if that's a slightly more intelligent use of the English language. Ivan Muller getting himself ready for combat. I wonder how many touring car races Ivan Muller has competed in. Somebody somewhere must have a count, but in World Touring Cars and WTCR, he's well into the 300s, isn't he? He's been in a championship almost right from the very beginning with not with BMWs, with Seat and with...
Yeah, he started with BMWs.
Started with BMWs?
Back in Super Touring days,
yeah,
with Oreca.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, yes. So he did with Hugues.
Then he spent a long time with Audi, developing the Audi Sport, the front-wheel drive Audi Sport.
Yeah.
Then he went, this is while he was doing 10 years ice racing.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, that's the Oreca. Oreca came in, you know, he came in from Formula 3000, where Sister Kathy also raced before him. And he came in, he won lots of ice racing titles with Oreca run cars, and that's where that touring car combination started. And
then he got poached off Audi by Vauxhall in the UK. So
yeah. And in the World Touring Car Championship, he did start with
Seat.
Seat, yeah. Started with Seat. So he didn't start when Andy did, but he's been here more consistently than Andy Priaulx.
But he has retired once as well, wasn't he?
Yeah. Briefly.
Come back.
Yeah, briefly for one.
So they realised he was still quicker than most of the grid put together.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, unfortunately for Nesta Girolami, that almost ended his career as a touring car driver outside of Argentina, because he was replaced in the final race weekend, wasn't he, in Bahrain, Dubai, I forget now, by Ivan Muller in the Volvos to help Ted Björk win the title in 2017, which he went on to do. Norbert Michaelis then the runner-up in WTCC that year. And Mehdi Banani could have been the champion that year as well, but the final race weekend just did not work out for him. Went in second in the championship, didn't he? Chasing Ted Björk, and in the end, it just didn't happen.
We just got a little bit of in-car shot of Mikel Azcona in his Cupra. Is this his best start of the year? His best starting
Third on the grid.
He's had flashes of brilliance.
Yes.
Then sort of disappeared back into the pack, hasn't he? So I think this could be his highest start of the year.
Attila Tashi having a slightly damaged front end, reconnected and reattached. Norbert Michaelis rolling quite slowly out of the pit lane. Nothing to worry about there, I'm hoping. He doesn't look perturbed. Just trundling down, he will go. Oh, he's coming back in. That's why he didn't look perturbed, going back through the pit lane again. That might give him another chance to do a practice start. You can only do them in one designated box at pit out, so he may well be doing that. Also gives him a chance to double check everything before you go to the grid, and that gives the team a chance to fix things on the grid if there is a panic of any kind. There on the left-hand side, you can see one of the Hyundais going into that box, and that will be, is that Gabrielli? I think, oh, it's Augusto Farfus, all right, 1 out of 3. Nicky Katzberg also goes into the practice start box.
Starts is such a critical part of the, not just the race, but the weekend, on how you get, whether you, it's the one biggest point where you can lose or gain position. So they're getting the clutches set perfectly. They're just that wee bit of practice.
Talking about ice races, here's another one. Aurélien Panis, like Jan Erlaché, races in the Trophy Andros during the winter. Erlaché, Fredrik Vervisch was a guest driver on a couple of occasions this year, but Aurélien Panis has been doing it for the last 2 or 3 years, racing against his dad, Olivier Panis, also competing in ice racing. You think Olivier Panis, the last man to win last Frenchman to win a Grand Prix, the last man to win a Grand Prix in a Ligier-built car, while Guy Ligier was still alive. If you think Olivier Panis in his 5th decade might have lost a bit of his edge, no. He has not lost anything in speed, and he is at least as fierce an elbows-out competitor as any 20-year-old young buck. Same as Gabriele Tarquini here. Final adjustments on setup. Again, maybe like Esteban Guerrieri, they're just tweaking the suspension alignment to get the most out of the tyres.
Well, he had a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact with Chacon in that first race. So the string there is literally, it's a very rudimentary way of checking the toes and everything of the car, just making sure and it'll be, you know, have a millimetre adjustment.
Yeah.
So
it's the sort of thing that unevenly wears your car tyre, and will mean that the inside shoulder goes bald before the outside, or vice versa. And that's camber, that's caster angle, kingpin inclination, and all sorts of other.
That's all going to be pretty hot under there still as well, isn't it, after the first race? So
not only is it really hot,
environment,
but for those of you who, like you and I, Matt, started with nasty old snotters that you had to repair on the driveway almost every weekend, working flat on your back with a car 2 inches from your chest, even when it's cold, and your arms above your head, it's not a very convenient way of working on things. However, needs must, and there clearly is just a little bit of panic going on there.
Now with Tarquini starting 2 places further up the grid from...
They're changing, are they changing a suspension arm or a steering arm? No, okay. Well, whatever it is, they've got to get him out of the pit lane. They need to take off the setup strings. Okay, quick measurement there, and it's how far the front of the wheel is pointing out compared to the back of the wheel there. That's the toe. And normally on a front-wheel drive race car, you'll want the front of the tyre pointing out a bit, so it's a bit splayed, which gives you good initial bite as you turn in.
Yeah, maybe no practice start for Gabrielli. He's got 2 minutes 40 seconds to get out the grid.
Well, he'll be out of the pit lane by the time he gets to the practice start box, so that's okay, because that's past the white line, I think. But the bonnet is still up. Now it goes down. And these guys working very hard for their living. Hyundai Mechanics also working on their rally team this weekend. Haven't kept up with what's been happening in the WRC.
Guerreri choosing not to go for a practice start.
Now, he may well be happy with his practice start. Problem with the practice start box, actually, it is still inside the pit lane. Look at Andy Prio there. It's behind the white line. The problem is it feeds directly into the pit out, into the fast lane. There is no sort of parallel strip, so you could end up sitting there for a little bit longer than you hope for if there's a bit of a rush of cars out of the pit lane.
Whoa, that's a
good indication of how tail happy the car is on cold tyres. And of course, with no tyre warmers, Matt, that's exactly what it'll look like and feel like on lap 1 of the race. Because any heat he gets in on the way to the grid will have long gone by the time they start the formation lap. So formation lap will be important, not just to make sure that everything is working as it should be, but also to try and work operating heat into the tyres and brakes for the beginning of the final race here. So Gabriele Tarquini heading to the huge throng on the grid. And let's hear from Ivan Muller in his car on the grid.
Hello everybody. Welcome at Suzuka for the race 3 of the weekend. Unfortunately for me, the weekend didn't went as well as I wanted. But that's racing, and now I have to manage to score as much point I can to stay in the game. We start P17. Track is very tricky and narrow and difficult to overtake, but yesterday we did a good race. Race 2 was so-so. Let's see if we can do a nice and good third race.
Ivan, very relaxed, isn't he? I mean, Matt, you raced against him in British touring cars. You know what a tough competitor he is, how much effort and thought he puts into all of this, but very relaxed as well. And that's really important when you are up against it, is not to have a bit of a panic about anything.
Yeah, he's got a good Gaelic temper on him. I can vouch for that. But, he's a tough competitor. That's why he's a multiple world champion.
Yeah, absolutely right. 4-time world champion and still in the title hunt this season, very much so. Busy grid with 29 cars now forming up for the final race here at Suzuka in Japan on the short East Circuit. This is just 2.2 kilometers. The season finale for the Super Formula will take place just after we finish, and that will be on the full Grand Prix circuit. On DHL pole is Johan Kristoffersson with the fastest run in Q3 yesterday. On a drying track, he gambled on slicks, and the gamble paid off for him. Now, no question over what kind of tyre you're going to use, just over which set and how you rotate them. As we heard with